Sunny ways, my friends, sunny ways.
So the answer to that is to stop being stupid.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
We have recently switched to drinking water bottles out of water out of when we have water bottles out of a plastic. Away from plastic towards paper, like drink box water bottles, sort of thing.
Well, Lottie frickin' God!
You're ready to fight, aren't you? I can feel it!
I intend to resign as party leader, as prime minister.
Is this true?
Yes, it's true. This man has no dick.
Sorry?
The servicing costs on the debt that you're going to have to carry, that you're adding to now, right?
Interest rates are at historic lows, Glenn.
There's the funds.
On the topic, I mean, in terms of your sort of strategy currently, you're obviously taking the populist pathway.
What does that mean?
He's announcing a catalog, everybody! Give him a round of applause! Come on, give him a round of applause! You can't afford a home. You might end up in a tent. Your rent is doubled, but hey, you've got a brand new catalog.
When I'm prime minister, I will keep my promises. Now, another promise. Let me try again.
A lot of people would say that you're simply taking a page out of the Donald Trump book.
Like which people would say that?
Well, I'm sure a great many Canadians, but
Like who?
I don't know who, but...
Well, you're the one who asked the question, so
Yeah.
you must know somebody.
We need to trigger an axe the tax election as soon as possible.
We'll do it live. No, we'll do it live. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Yeah, that's all that's coming off. There's nothing else coming off, yeah. I'm not Justin Trudeau here.
Let's fucking go!
Let's fucking go.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Fringe. Welcome to a special live stream event here on The Fringe. There hasn't been a lot of good news going around lately, so what better to kick off everyone's Saturday, everyone's Flag Day with a good old Canada First rally from Pierre Poilievre. Of course, we'll be showcasing it here on the channel. Get those thumbs ups in the chat, ladies and gentlemen, and those LFGs in the chat as well. When the rally starts, I will be bringing... at least at very minimal, the audio to you guys. I've been looking all over to see if this is going to be broadcast anywhere else. The only live feed I can find right now is CBC. Of course, CBC claims copyrights and shuts down any stream showing video that they're having there. So we will have the audio with some images in the background, at least. Worst case scenario, if anybody knows anywhere else that this is going to be live streamed, I'm hoping Pierre's actual YouTube channel comes up with a live feed of this presentation. So unfortunately, the only thing I can find right now is CBC. We will actively look for anything else. If anybody else finds anywhere else that this is being live streamed that is not another YouTube channel, please let me know in the chat. Let's get it going on. Let's look at this. We're almost 600 viewers already in the live stream. People are ready to go. CTV, I haven't even seen any links, John, from CTV yet stating that they're showing. Again, they're another one, though, that trigger the old, they don't call it a copyright infringement. What they call it is a content ID strike. It's their new way of getting around copyright infringement to essentially say they have a right to that material alone, and that others aren't allowed to restream that content. So again, at the very minimum, folks, we will have the audio alongside this image of the Canada First rally. Again, I'll have this on screen, at least with the audio, if we can't find another stream. But it's important because we don't want to wait for clips. We don't want to wait for everything else to come out. We want it live. We want to know live what's going on, what's happening in our country. So that is what we're here for today, to broadcast to you guys. I hope you guys are having a wonderful Saturday. I want to cover something that's a little alarming going into the press conference, because if you noticed not too long ago, about 45 minutes to an hour ago, a video dropped on the channel talking about the psyops, the indoctrination that's going on when it comes to these fake polls, when it comes to Mark Carney and his liberals generating clout around the liberals, saying that they're going to hold a majority government, that they're all of a sudden pummeling Pierre Poilievre into obscurity. When we talk about those psyops, I'm worried another one is taking place here, and I'm going to show you what that's talking about. Joe with the 279 super chat. All liberals suck. I can't say the end of that, but thank you for the 279 super chat. Let's take a look at what's going on, because if you know journalism, if you follow internet journalism, you'll of course have heard of Rupa Samanyara, a journalist who was recently in the United States talking about censorship. Again, she was featured in that PSYOP video. Say cocking. He sucks cocking, I guess, if you're putting that in your house, if you're refinishing your bathtub, I guess. Yeah, we can say that. I want to show this, what Rupa's posted just outside of the Pierre event. Live stream video. Security says the venue is full, but yet people who know the MPs are being let in. Poor show. Pierre Poilievre, she says. So again, there was a massive lineup. The pleb was showing earlier the lineup that was going in there, and what was happening with the Pierre Poilievre rally. Down here, she says, many people waiting outside complaining security is selective in who they're letting in. One person said, you're letting people in who are connected to the politicians and making the rest of us wait. They're saying now, whether or not this is for coverage, it questions again why Rupa wasn't allowed in. Because down here, you can see her posting, trying to get into Pierre Poilievre's rally in Ottawa, and they won't let me in because I don't have media credentials, according to B. Rombo, the security officer at the entrance pictured here. Someone who claimed she was an MP walked through, and he didn't ask any questions. This is alarming. If this is what's happening, it definitely raises some concerns. I understand for security reasons, they don't just let anybody into these events. But if certain people are being given access to this event ahead of others because they're, quote, in bed with conservative politicians, even if I were allowed into this event and others were not, I would have a problem with this, because what you're talking about is the ability for Canadians to get their information, the ability for Canadians to express their support in a leader, if that leader is going to shut them out. And it's not to say that once there's standing room, you just magically open the doors. I understand fire codes. I understand all of that stuff, but there has to be a better way of handling these events so that people don't feel snubbed by their candidate, because ultimately, what does that do in the end when it comes time to vote? People are going to have sour grapes. They're snatching donation class gets in first. That happens with any political party. But again, it's concerning that folks like Rupa aren't being allowed in to cover this. Again, it makes me question anybody who is getting in and their ties to the Conservative Party, what that means. Curtis saying Rebel News better be there. I sure hope so. Again, we'll be checking to see if Rebel is doing a stream. Right now, again, the only one that I've pulled up is CBC. Nothing is going on stage. In fact, I'll bring it on to the camera here. You can see here the live stage going on. Again, a very packed room. When you think about Mark Carney, when you think about everything going on in politics, I don't see Mark Carney's rallies this packed. I don't see people cheering for Mark Carney the way they are for Pierre Poilievre. Again, I'm not going to show too much because CBC loves to shut down these broadcasts, saying you're stealing their feeds. So again, I'll keep my eyes out to see if there's any other live streams going on. If anybody knows, again, of anyone that is not a YouTube channel live streaming this event, please let us know in the chat. At the very minimal, like I said, guys, we'll have the audio with some background imagery. Rhonda saying they had to register prior to the rally. Okay, but again, it just questions to me about the selectiveness that's going on. I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm saying that the problem is that this audience knows what's going on. They know the process. They know what's happening. I'm talking about the general public. If you're just Joe Schmo who watches politics and you decide, hey, I want to go show my support. I like Pierre. I want to hear what he has to say. And then you show up and you find out that people who are handing out money or people who are in bed with the Conservatives are getting in ahead of you, being told, hey, standing room only. Now, one could say, hey, show up earlier. Early bird gets the worm. I understand that point of it. Pierre's rallies, of course, are in high demand. It's happened in Calgary. It's happened everywhere else where you hear standing room only. I'm saying that to the average person who isn't informed, it may leave sour grapes for those people. So it just, yeah, and I'm not saying people are paying money. What we're saying, Kathy, is that people who have donated to the party get in first. That happens at every event. Their donators are given special privileges to get in the doors, or passes, so to speak. They're big donors anyways. That happens with any party, whether you're the Liberals, the Conservatives. They don't want to snub their big donors. And that's to be expected, I would think, of course, right? If people are contributing largely to your party, you're not going to say, sorry, you can wait out. Folks, I'm actually going to, I'm just going to get rid of the CBC feed so that you guys have the proper bandwidth here.
I remember in 1964 when my dad, Ken Donovan, phoned and asked if I could help him. The Prime Minister needed 3 prototype flags ready to fly up at Harrington Lake the next morning, and this was late on a Friday afternoon. Anyways, I went and helped my dad out. And now, 60 years later, I remember that day because when I sewed the flags, I was asked not to say anything about what I had done. So when the flag was official on February the 15th, 1965, I called in sick. I wasn't. And I stayed home and watched it on TV. And as the flag was being raised, I thought, oh, I was one of the lucky ones and the first one to see our flag and be the part of the birth of our flag. Yes. Anyways, and I also have a little story about Pierre. I don't know if he remembers this, but probably about 15 years ago, and we were at a local school in the gym, and Pierre was sitting at a table, and I went and sat down beside him, and I said, Pierre, I think you're going to be my next Prime Minister. And he just looked at me with the look, that's the plan. So I'd like to wish everybody a very happy Flag Day, and keep your flags flying on your properties.
Thank you so much, John, for your kind words and for giving us the most powerful symbol of the greatest country on earth. On behalf of Pierre Poilievre and Common Sense Conservatives all across Canada, I would like to present you, John, with a small gift, a Canadian flag from Stornoway, the official residence of the leader of the opposition. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. How incredible it was to have John here for this special event. And this is going to be an important event. To introduce myself, I am Fanny Boulanger, the Conservative candidate for Jonquière in Quebec. I was born in La Terrière, the daughter of a single mother who taught me deepest values, essential values of hard work, courage, sacrifice, and family. These principles gave me the deep understanding of the daily challenges faced by family in Jonquière who are struggling to make ends meet. She worked so hard, combining 2 jobs to buy a home in a safe neighborhood. Yeah, just for her. Yeah. I grew up as a young girl with my mom teaching me about Canada's promise where if you work hard, everything is possible. But after 9 years of the Carney Trudeau Liberals, appuyés à 100% par le Bloc, this promise is now broken. I did everything I've been asked to do. I went to school, I got a degree, I worked hard, so hard, but the reality hits me harder. I am still not able to buy a home. Carney and Trudeau's policy have made it impossible for Canadians to reach the starting line. Mon parcours politique remonte à plusieurs années. J'ai d'abord travaillé comme adjointe parlementaire pour le député Richard Martel de Coach. Richard qui m'a non seulement ouvert la porte en politique, mais qui me l'a tenu pour que je réussisse. Pendant près de 2 ans, j'ai travaillé au cabinet de Pierre Poilievre. J'étais aux affaires parlementaires. J'étais aux premières loges pour voir les bloquistes se lever fièrement pour appuyer 500 milliards de dollars de déficit inflationniste de Mark Carney et de Justin Trudeau.
Okay, guys, while this is going on, can I just ask that people stop with the northern bashing? Okay, people asked an opinion. I gave an opinion. We're leaving it there. I'm not here to bash anybody. Let's get on with the rally. What's important? Again, watch who you like on the platform, guys. Let's move away from it. Let's get back to what matters.
I'm Michael Barrett. I'm a proud... I'm a proud Canadian who grew up in a small Ontario town and began my journey serving our incredible country in the Canadian Armed Forces. That's where I learned a skilled trade, and I served here in our country alongside many great Canadians who serve our country. After my military service, I was elected as a municipal councillor, standing up for my neighbours and advocating for lower taxes. Today, as a Conservative Member of Parliament for the riding of Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes, I bring that same dedication and work ethic to Parliament. And along with my wife, Amanda, we're raising our 5 wonderful children. Yes, that's a lot of kids. And I'm committed to building a future where every Canadian family can thrive.
We all know that Canada is the greatest country on earth, but after 9 years, it hasn't always felt that way. I'm sure you've all seen this, but Donald Trump has threatened Canada. He has threatened us with tariffs. He has threatened us to make us the 51st state. Il a menacé nos jobs ici au Canada.
And carbon tax Carney? Well, he is just the man to help Donald Trump. We now spend more paying off the debt on carbon tax Carney and Justin Trudeau's credit card than we do on the federal health transfer. And to pay for their out-of-control inflationary spending, they are taxing Canadians to death. Carbon tax Carney is telling a bald-faced lie to Canadians when he says he'll cancel the carbon tax. Now, maybe you saw it. The other day, a CTV reporter, Todd Battis, asked if the industry would pass on the cost of carbon tax Carney's new carbon tax to consumers. Now, his response was, quote, no, because what the big companies are producing, by and large, are not products that we're consuming. You know, a steel company. How much steel are you using these days, Todd? Not much, said Carney. But, like, what uses steel? Cars, trucks, fridges, ovens, dishwashers, microwaves, washers, dryers, cutlery, cookware, tools, bed frames, chairs, tables, storage shelves, structural steel, rebar, sinks, washers, fences, railings, gates. Do I need to go on? No, because you all get something that carbon tax Carney doesn't understand. Because if you use these things, you're going to be paying Mark Carbon Tax Carney's newest carbon tax. And for President Trump, that's a dream come true.
And it gets even worse when if you can believe it, carbon tax Carney opposed Canadian pipelines while profiting off U.S. coal. He has fought to kill on the record projects such like the Northern Gateway pipeline that would have allowed oil and gas to reach Asia. All the while, the company he ran invested billions of dollars in oil companies in Brazil and the UAE to buy pipelines. Talk about a high carbon hypocrite.
Now, he even moved his company, Brookfield Asset Management's headquarters and jobs, to New York City. Does that sound like someone who's going to put Canada first to you? Taxing our jobs into the hands of the Americans would be consistent with what carbon tax Carney has done in moving his company's headquarters out of Canada to Donald Trump's hometown of New York just a few months ago. He sent Canadian jobs and investment to the U.S. at the exact moment when he was Justin Trudeau's economic advisor. He made fortunes pushing green finance schemes whose stated goals were to starve Canada's energy sector of investment, while his company invested in American coal. Carbon tax Carney cashed in, and Canadians lost out.
They have disrespect the authority of provinces, including Quebec, to impose their woke agenda on immigration, drugs, crime, and so much more. Puis les bloquistes, ils ont voté 200 fois pour maintenir Justin Trudeau au pouvoir, permettant à Stephen Guilbeault, le ministre radical et activiste de l'environnement qui soutient Mark Carney, d'imposer un décret fédéral, libéral, radical, qui va supprimer des centaines de jobs forestières, le principal secteur économique de ma circonscription au Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean. Voter pour le Bloc, ça a des conséquences. Le Bloc a trahi nos régions. Ils ont voté pour bannir des centaines d'armes de chasse, ont voté pour taxer l'essence qu'on met dans nos boîtes à neige, dans nos pick-up, dans nos autos. Le Bloc a bloqué GNL Québec, qui aurait rapporté des gros chèques de paye pour les travailleurs saguenayens et qui aurait assuré notre souveraineté économique et énergétique.
The Trudeau-Carney Liberals legalized the possession of deadly drugs like fentanyl, meth, and heroin in British Columbia. And what was the result of these insane, wacko policies? Well, nearly 50,000 Canadians have died from opioid overdoses. That's a nearly 200% increase. That's more Canadians than who died fighting for our country in the Second World War. But carbon tax Carney told Canadians that he doesn't think that we're in a crisis. And no wonder. He doesn't have to experience the consequences of his own radical policies when he's living in London and Davos. He lives in his own alternate reality, and we pay the price. It's clear. If Carney wins, Canadians lose.
And that's the reality, folks. If Carney wins, we're out. We're done.
And they won't be like this after they're gone. In just a few minutes, Pierre Poilievre is going to deliver his common sense plan for Canadians. His plan to stand up for our country. His plan to lower taxes so Canadians can bring home powerful paychecks. His plan to stop the drugs that are killing our people. His plan to take back control of the Arctic. His plan to put Canada first.
But first, I'd like to introduce our common sense Conservative MP for Oxford, Arpan Khanna. Now, Arpan lives in Woodstock with his wife Sim and their sons Arvin and Avin. And before politics, Arpan was a lawyer and a small business owner. He's a proud Canadian, a lawful gun owner. and a strong champion for common sense in Oxford and across Canada. Il est un grand défenseur de gros bon sens à Oxford et dans tout le Canada. So everyone, please give a warm welcome to our very own common sense Conservative MP for Oxford, Arpan Canna.
Well, thank you so much, Fanny and Michael. Who's excited to put Canada first? That's incredible because it's more important now than ever. See, I was raised in a blue-collar, working-class family. I'm the proud son of immigrants who chose Canada 40 years ago, arriving with just a few dollars in their pockets, but they had a dream of a better life. And growing up, I watched my parents work tirelessly. They worked long hours, 15, sometimes 16-hour shifts in factories, picking up extra work on the weekends just to make ends meet. In the summers, I have great memories. We picked strawberries as a family to help put food on our table. Nothing was handed to us, nothing. We rolled up our sleeves. We worked and we worked hard. But through it all, my parents never wavered their beliefs that their sacrifices would one day pay off. They knew that if we worked hard, played by the rules, and earned an honest living, we could achieve that Canadian dream. A decent home, a secure future, and the chance to raise a family with dignity. They dreamed of a country where their sons could play sports, get a good education, and build a life even better than theirs. That was Canada's promise. But after 9 years, that promise feels out of reach for far too many. The good news, common sense Conservatives are ready to restore that promise by building the freest country in the world. A country where it doesn't matter where you're from, but where you're going. A country, if you work hard, you get a good life. A country where it doesn't matter who you know, it matters what you can do. And that's why I'm proud to be a son of a first-generation Canadian, introducing another first-generation Canadian, Mrs. Ana Poilievre. Ana Poilievre was born in Caracas, Venezuela. At 8 years old in 1995, she immigrated to Canada with her family and settled in a working-class neighborhood in the east of Montreal. She later came to Ottawa, where she studied communications at the University of Ottawa and worked as a parliamentary affairs advisor for the Senate of Canada and the House of Commons. It is there that she met our leader, Pierre Poilievre, and the two married in 2017. Ana, yes. Ana is also the co-founder of Pretty and Smart Co., a lifestyle website for women, and a proud mom to the two children, Valentina and Cruz. And she plays an active role in our conservative movement as our leader's #1 supporter. So please join me in welcoming to the stage, Ana Poilievre.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup. Lorsque ma famille est arrivée à Montréal en 1995, nous ne parlions pas le français. Nous étions entourés d'une communauté hispanophone, chaleureuse, qui nous offrait un sentiment de familiarité et de sécurité. Mais mes parents savaient que pour vraiment réussir au Québec, il nous fallait apprendre la langue et embrasser notre nouvelle culture. Alors, ils ont pris une décision courageuse de déménager vers l'est de Montréal, où nous étions entourés majoritairement que de francophones. C'est là que j'ai fait mes premiers amis québécois. D'abord Guillaume, puis Karine. Avec eux, j'ai appris le français en chantant à tue-tête les colloques, dogmatiques et bien d'autres. Adopter notre nouveau chez nous était essentiel, Et le Québec nous a accueillis les bras.
I'm just gonna mute while she's talking French and ask. Like, I'm looking at the comments here. Are these just liberal bots? Like, what's with the? I thought people were behind Pierre. Like, what's with the negativity in here? It's people are upset because somebody's waving a Venezuelan flag. I mean, there's nothing wrong with her being proud of where she's from. Those may be people who are from Venezuela that approve of Anita. Like, I just don't understand. Yeah, it's lib bots. I'm pretty sure it's lib bots. It's insane. I've never seen, like, say what you want about my personal opinions and views, but I've never seen this much of a toxicity in our chat since starting this channel. It's absolutely crazy how many bots flood a channel during a live stream. Keep the positive comments coming in, folks. Let's drown out the bots.
Not hyphenated ones, just proud Canadians. And we feel that it is now our duty to fight for our country. My brother Louis embodies that deep love for Canada, whether serving in the Royal Canadian Air Force or standing guard to protect Canada's sovereignty. His dedication to Canada has been unwavering. It is why it was also a no-brainer for me when my husband asked me to embark on this journey with him. Some ask, why do we do this? Why do we put our family through the challenges of public life? Well, the answer is simple. Because Canada is worth fighting for.
Here's the thing. While everybody's being negative, please tell me what the option is. The other option is. What other option do we have to fix our country if we're not going to take Pierre? Again, I don't trust politicians or government, but somebody please explain to me a better option.
Freedom, responsibility, and opportunity for all are timeless and worth defending. That is why my husband, Pierre Poilievre, has taken on this mission. Pierre has always been a fighter for families, for workers, for people who just want a fair shot at a better life. Et oui, mon mari est un batailleur, un homme qui ne recule jamais devant l'adversité, qui se lève chaque matin avec la même détermination, défendre ceux qui travaillent dur, mais qui ont peine à joindre les deux bouts. Il comprend que la force de notre pays repose sur des gens fiers, résilients et courageux. Pierre sait que chaque famille mérite une chance réelle de bâtir un avenir meilleur, sans être écrasée par des taxes et une bureaucratie étouffante. He knows that the strength of our country lies in its people, hardworking, resilient, proud Canadians who believe in freedom, opportunity, and responsibility. That is you all. Every generation of Canadians has faced its defining moments. Today, the stakes are higher than ever. This is our moment as a nation to choose a strong leader who will fight to put Canada first and every Canadian. This is absolutely not the time to choose the same tired leadership that got us into this mess. No way. Even if they wear a new mask. Canadians cannot be fooled. This is the time to choose conviction and strength and to stand up for all Canadians and put Canada first. And while threats are looming from abroad, only my husband, can deliver that strong leadership needed to fight back. Today, we stand together in this movement to put Canada first. Not for the elites, not for the special interests, but for everyday people who make this country great. And to protect our country. So, let's take back our country. Let's put Canada first, and let's do it together. Let's go! Ladies and gentlemen, it is my profound honor to introduce to you my husband, the strong leader Canada needs, and without a doubt, le prochain Premier Ministre du Canada, Pierre Poilievre.
I love how somebody just said there's no applause after every sentence necessary. Have you guys ever seen a Trump rally? Come on. Okay, we gotta mute it there. I'm probably already gonna get a copyright strike for earlier when Anita came out. But here comes Pierre, man of the hour. Let's see what he has to say. Hopefully no slogans. I'm really hoping for no slogans here. I want to see what he wants to. We said it last night on stream. This guy's got to go hard. He's got to start coming out saying what he's going to do, what he's fed up with, what he's going to do to fight the liberals. Stop with the slogans. I want to see what he's going to say about Donald Trump. Stop attacking Trump, basically. They should understand that the demographic supports Donald Trump because he's making change in America. We want the same in Canada. So somebody's saying he's gonna crap the bed on this. We'll see. I don't know. Somebody said earlier that Anita had changed her look. I don't think she's changed very much. I seen her in the summer when they were in Calgary. I don't see a massive change. Maybe she's done her hair differently. I don't know, but she looks the same to me. It's we'll get to the audio here as soon as the waving stops. We'll make sure that, again, we're not getting the copyright strikes here on the channels. Yeah, somebody right there. Sell me on the idea. I'd rather get sold on that than the continual slogans. I want to see something brought up in the terms of the Doge in Canada. I want to see Doge Canada. I want to see arrests, charges, justice against those who have stolen from us. That continue to, by the way. Put out a story yesterday about the $500 million Trudeau's laundering to DEI and gender studies in Asia and South America. So it's going to be interesting, again, to see if Pierre brings anything up like that. Of course, they bring out their kids. There's one of Pierre's assistants, scrambling to make sure he's got everything at the podium. I mean, you never saw Justin Trudeau like this unless it was election night with his family. This is what Canada should look like. Families, children, free will, free business, open trade. Let's hear what Pierre has to say. Hopefully he doesn't crap this one.
Prêt à mettre le Canada d'abord? Are there any patriots in the room who are ready to put Canada first? Wow! Quelle excellente réception patriotique de nos chers et
Maybe we should have had a slogan counter on the channel. Somebody keep track. We've already heard one.
Malgré une tempête de neige, je sais qu'il y a eu une tempête de neige qui a paralysé la ville de Washington il y a quelques jours. Mais nous, ici, dans la capitale nationale du Canada, on va jamais laisser quelques flocons de neige gâcher le jour de notre drapeau national. Well, what an incredible crowd to have here. I heard that a snowstorm actually paralyzed Washington the other day, but here in Canada, our capital will never be prevented from celebrating its great national flag by a few snowflakes. Mais d'abord, il faut m'adresser aux questions qui sont définitivement dans vos têtes maintenant. Il y a deux questions, évidemment. Premièrement, quand vous voyez Ana, vous avez deux questions. Un, pourquoi est-elle avec ce gars-là? J'ai pas de réponse. 2, pourquoi est-elle décidée de quitter un pays tropical pour venir ici dans la neige avec une tuque? I know there's a couple of questions that you have whenever Anna introduces me, so let's address them right out of the gate. First, what's she doing with that guy? I don't have an answer. Second, why would she leave a tropical country to trade the warm weather for a toque and earmuffs here in Canada? Well, that is the real question, and that is the subject that we're gathered here today to discuss. Because Anna and I understand that our stories would only be possible here in Canada. Only in this country could a refugee from Venezuela, who started in a basement Montreal apartment and the son of a teenage mother, raised by 2 school teachers, dream of standing on this stage leading Canada's national founding political party. You see, because that is the promise that this country makes to every Canadian, regardless of birthplace or background, that anyone from anywhere can achieve anything, that hard work gets you a great life with a beautiful house and a safe street protected by brave soldiers under a proud flag. Anna et moi savons que nos histoires n'ont été possibles qu'ici, au Canada. C'est ici qu'une réfugiée de Venezuela qui a commencé dans...
So while he's repeating the same thing in French, a lot of people are talking about the French. If you guys don't notice already, he's doing this as a troll at Mark Carney. You notice that Mark Carney can't speak a lick of French, that he's brushing up on his French, that Chandra Ira was kicked out of the Liberal leadership race for not speaking French. He's also in Ottawa, by the way, which is also a very English-French city because of the government. However, this is a troll at Mark Carney. This is a way for him to say, look, I can speak French at my rallies while you guys are always touting English.
Accomplir ses rêves. Que le travail acharné vous permette de mener une vie formidable avec une belle maison dans un quartier sécuritaire sous notre fier drapeau. Anna and I are deeply grateful that this country made and kept us that promise. And it's actually why we've decided to get into this line of work and fight for it our entire lives. Both of us very young, we did so. It's why that we've put our names on the line. We are in this fight today because we want to restore the promise the country kept for us and assure every single Canadian who works hard can experience the wonderful Canadian promise the country gave us. But that promise did not happen by accident. It took courageous leadership for us to be here today. And we as Conservatives have a special duty to carry on that legacy. Conservatives, as the party of Confederation and John A. Macdonald, will restore the promise of Canada. Our founding leader united our country from the Atlantic to the Pacific and warded off American designs to dominate our continent. In the words of our great first Prime Minister, Conservatives will fight, and I quote, to give us a great, a united, a rich, an improving, a developing Canada, instead of making us a tributary to American laws, American railways, American bondage, and American tolls. That is the rich Conservative legacy to Canada, deliberately resisting American annexation for hundreds of years. Now more than ever, we owe this country, we love this country, and we will fight every day and every way to pass down to our kids the blessings we inherited from those who came before us. Aujourd'hui, plus que jamais, on est redevable à ce pays. On l'aime et on se bat chaque jour pour transmettre à nos enfants les bienfaits qu'on a reçus de ceux qui nous ont précédés. L'idée est simple. On doit tous mettre le Canada d'abord. Sometimes it does take a threat to remind us what we have, what we could lose, and what we could become. The unjustified threats of tariffs and 51st statehood of Donald Trump have united our people to defend the country we love. We must respond with strength, and strength means leverage. America has leverage, and we have leverage. I will use that leverage. Retaliation is only the beginning. Yes, we need to retaliate. If they put tariffs on our steel and aluminum, I will put tariffs on their steel and aluminum. If they hit us with generalized tariffs, we will respond dollar for dollar. Yes, we will carefully target American goods that we don't need, can produce ourselves, or we can get elsewhere to maximize the impact on Americans while minimizing the impact on ourselves.
All I'm going to say is that's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it pays off for him.
100% of the proceeds of these counter tariffs will reimburse our businesses and workers that are directly impacted, and the rest will go to tax cuts to relieve Canadians. Not one penny will go to government spending. We cannot use this crisis as yet another liberal excuse to raise taxes or to do money printing, spending, which will only cause inflation. What we will do instead is use our leverage to fight back. We will make sure that Americans know that they will be paying the tariffs they impose on us. I will send the clear message so that everyone in key American states understands that they will pay the price for the decisions to punish our country. Refinery workers, home builders, automakers, and others will need to know that their jobs depend on the goods we sell them, and that tariffing those goods will lower their wages and threaten their jobs. And it doesn't stop there. America cannot power its energy-hungry future without buying surplus power that we make. You know, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and Meta are all turning to nuclear power, in some cases buying or building their own nuclear plants to power AI data centers. In fact, these data centers, you know, when you do a chat GPT inquiry, it takes 10 times as much electricity as a Google search. Isn't that incredible? That's the power of this AI, artificial intelligence. You know, we have artificial intelligence in the government, eh? A different type. The Americans will need nuclear, natural gas, hydro that can power those centers. And we have cold weather here that reduces the cost of cooling them. We can leverage that power while protecting our people. Americans need our radar, surveillance, ongoing cooperation to keep us both safe against intercontinental and supersonic missiles and other threats. They need our minerals, uranium, oil, and gas. Finally, we must remind our American friends that a trade war will simply reduce the funds both our countries have for our shared North American defense. It will make us less safe. As Winston Churchill said, though, you can always count on the Americans to do the right thing after exhausting all other possibilities.
Yeah, he's got to pull back.
Spell out the possibilities for our American friends and speak directly to them. Option one, you can carry out an unprovoked attack on our economy. Your consumers will pay more and your workers will make less. Gas prices will skyrocket. You will turn a loyal friend into a resentful neighbor, forced to match tariff with tariff and to seek friends everywhere else. Both our economies will weaken, leaving less money for defense and security, and our enemies will grow stronger. Yeah. Option one.
Option 2, we trade even more. And both our workers make more. Our consumers pay less. The resulting GDP boost allows Canada to further strengthen its border and up our military spending to 2% of GDP faster. We stop fentanyl, terrorists, supersonic missiles, and other threats. We team up against the unfair trading practices of other countries. Both America and Canada separately, will end up safer, stronger, and richer as a result. Oh, and there's something else. There's something else I'd like to say to our American friends. We've always loved you as our neighbors and friends. There is no country with whom we'd rather share a border, the longest undefended border in the world. We know America is the biggest economic and military superpower the world has ever known. And we've been a good neighbor. We fought on the same side of the same wars. We paid with Canadian lives and treasure to fight for America, avenging the 9/11 attacks. You have your grievance with us. We have ours with you. But I would ask you this question. Which other country would you rather have as your neighbor?
You know, I'm on board for all of that, aside from saying we have grievances.
If Canada is not your friend, who is? See, the problem is at times we might be too polite, soft-spoken, and humble for our own good. We are slow to anger and quick to forgive, but never confuse our kindness with weakness. We love our country and our flag. We are a strong people with a proud history as a warrior nation whose soldiers have proven fierce enough to crush the fascists, the communists, and Al-Qaeda, yet humble enough to never once brag about their heroism. We are mild-mannered and made of steel. So let me be clear. We will never be the 51st state. We will bear any burden and pay any price to protect the sovereignty and independence of our country. Permettez-moi donc d'énoncer clairement les options qui s'offrent à nos amis américains. Option numéro 1. Vous lancez une attaque non provoquée contre notre économie. Vos consommateurs paient plus et vos travailleurs gagnent moins. Les prix de l'essence augmentent. L'essence augmente. Vous transformez un allié fidèle en un voisin amer. Obligé d'imposer des contre-tarifs et de chercher des alliés ailleurs.
So while he repeats that in French, I was on board with that whole speech there until he said that we had grievances with the United States. I think he's trying to show that, look, when he talks about the dollar-for-dollar tariffs, he's willing to negotiate with Trump, and I think we're going to see good negotiations with Donald Trump. Trump has said that he likes Pierre. But I think he's also trying to show the tough guy act that, hey, I'm going to stand up. I'm not as weak as Trudeau. The problem is that there is no alternative when it comes to this. We have to find a way to negotiate at the table. We have to stop pushing the Americans back and start saying, look, if you want to be against us, we can go toe-to-toe, but we'd prefer to negotiate, is what he should be saying.
On va stopper le fentanyl, les terroristes, les missiles supersoniques et d'autres menaces. On fait
I mean, saying Canada's weak, we have no choice, says John, but I don't think that's the case. I think we do have certain places that we can push back when it comes to energy, when it comes to minerals, when it comes to a lot of different things. But again, we need somebody who's willing to say, look, we just want to do what's right for everybody. We want everybody to be okay. but we also don't want to get walked on. There's a big difference between saying that and saying we're going to go dollar for dollar and push back. Words matter right now more than ever. They need to find the right words to basically state that, look, we love Americans, we love America, we love being a trading partner with America, but we have to start coming to the table and finding ways to agree rather than push each other around. What he should be saying is that he understands President Trump's frustration with Justin Trudeau's Liberals and those like Mark Carney, instead of saying, we're going to fight back, we're going to do what they're saying they're going to do. I mean, what's Pierre going to do? Pull liquor off the shelves like Doug Ford? He needs to push back in a way that says, we're prepared to fight, but we'd prefer not to. Again, my opinion.
Voyez-vous, il y a un problème. C'est qu'on parfois, on est trop poli, trop doux, trop humble. On est lent à nous fâcher et rapide à pardonner. Mais ne confondez jamais notre gentillesse avec de la faiblesse. On aime notre pays et notre drapeau. On est un peuple fort et fier de son histoire. Donc, soyons clairs, nous ne serons jamais un État américain. On va assumer tout le fardeau et on va payer le prix nécessaire pour protéger notre souveraineté et notre indépendance. Which option the Americans will choose is up to them. But let's be honest. We have to be prepared for the worst. Simply put, we can no longer depend on the Americans alone for our trade. We can no longer think of them as our backup defense. These threats, my friends, are a wake-up call. We should be the wealthiest and most self-reliant economy in the world today, given our natural resources. But instead, here we are. We have the fourth biggest supply of oil, yet we must import 179 million barrels of foreign oil every year because of the liberal No New Pipelines Act, which is still law today. We're the fifth biggest supplier of natural gas, but we can't export a single cubic foot of it overseas because we don't have a single liquefaction facility. The Liberals, according to Trudeau and Carney, they don't believe there is a business case for LNG plants. We have the fewest homes per person in the G7, even as we have 10 times as much land to build on as the second biggest country, because taxes and bureaucracy block home building, leaving our youth without houses. We sell twice as much to the Americans as we sell to Canadians in other provinces, because trade barriers governments impose block us from selling and buying with each other. We have the third most farmland per capita in the world, yet food prices rose 37% faster in Canada over the last 5 years than they did in the U.S. because the Carney-Trudeau carbon tax on farmers and truckers rose the price. Now, what have the Carney-Trudeau Liberals done about this? Well, they doubled the debt. They doubled housing costs. They doubled food bank lineups. They blocked Canadian energy in favor of dirty dictator oil. They raised taxes on work and investment and have driven an astonishing, eye-watering $500 billion to the United States in Canadian investment that now pays to create American jobs. All of this before a single tariff was applied. Now, Liberals would like to instrumentalize the tariff threat to distract from the record of the Carney-Trudeau Liberals over the last 9 years. They say that we should just forget about all the damage they've done to our country because of the tariffs that might be coming down the road. In fact, the opposite is true. Think of it, my friends. If Carney-Trudeau policies did this much economic harm before tariffs, imagine the devastation they would cause after tariffs. Yep. We need a prime minister who will put Canada first, our workers, our businesses, our economy, our borders, our military. We must, well, I need you too. Are you with me? Thank you. I thought so. And we must be able to stand on our own 2 feet, no longer helplessly dependent on the Americans. You know, the media is now saying that I should change my entire platform because of the tariff threat. In fact, the Trump tariff threats have proven conservatives right on everything. It's true. Everyone now admits, or they claim to admit, that conservatives were right on the liberal capital gains tax hike, that conservatives were right on the carbon tax, on pipelines, on LNG, on fentanyl, the borders, immigration, and the need to celebrate rather than cancel our proud history and country. Et qu'ont fait les libéraux de Carney et Trudeau? Ils ont doublé la dette, doublé le coût de logement, doublé l'usage des banques.
Okay, well, we'll get back again. Anybody who says I'm missing out on the French, they're just repeating what was said. He's got to pull back from Trump. He's got to get off the Trump. Again, what I said earlier, he did make a statement with saying that Canada shouldn't be relying on the United States anymore as its trading partner, that it's a wake-up call. What he's talking about, and what it is a wake-up call too, is that if Canada were to trade with the United States, but also open up its trade for the rest of the world. You think about that $1 trillion deal for LNG that just went through with Japan that Trump seized up. Jordan Peterson said it last week. That just cost every Canadian $250,000. We need smarter, more diversified ways of getting our products to market. We could be a global powerhouse. In fact, we could be above the United States.
Notre économie, nos frontières et notre armée. On doit être capable de nous débrouiller seuls sans dépendre les Américains. Les médias disent que je devrais changer ma plateforme à cause de cette menace de tarifs douaniers. En fait, c'est exactement le contraire. Les menaces de Trump sur les tarifs ont donné raison aux conservateurs sur tous les points. Tout le monde admet ou prétend admettre qu'on avait raison sur les hausses de taxes sur les gains en capital, la taxe carbone, les pipelines, le GNL, le fentanyl, les frontières, l'immigration.
I'd probably give it about a 6 or a 7 at this point, Marco, but thank you for the super chat.
Et notre pays. You know, it's funny. First, the Liberals said, Poilievre has no policies. And then they said, okay, he does, but they're really scary. And now they say, they agree with all my policies. You know, imitation is the highest form of flattery, but you cannot believe them. My friends, it is not realistic that we would believe a party 60 days before elections suddenly reversing itself on absolutely everything. If you want conservative policies, you will have to vote conservative. Take the carbon tax. Take the carbon tax. Yeah, and you know what to do with it. You know, before the tariff threats, we were talking about a carbon tax election. But now with these threats, I have to concede I've had to reflect on whether it is a top of mind issue. And after much reflection, I have concluded that the carbon tax will be an even bigger issue in the coming election than we thought. Combining Trump's tariffs with Carney's carbon tax will decimate our industries and destroy the jobs of our workers. The worst liberal tax of all has been the carbon tax, championed by Trudeau and his economic advisor, Mark Carney, whose only complaint was that the tax was not high enough. Now he plans a pre-election trick.
Next month, just days before he calls the election, Mr. Carney will pause the carbon tax, hide it out of sight so that you won't see it for the duration of the election period. And the media will tell you, forget all about it until the election is over, at which time, God forbid, if he were reelected, he would bring in a much bigger tax that has no rebate whatsoever. He said just a few days ago that he doesn't want to, quote, axe the tax. He wants to change the tax. Right. He will take the change right out of your pocket. Mr. Carney's new and bigger carbon tax will help America take every industrial job from Canada. They will be popping the champagne at the Trump Tower when the Carney carbon tax comes in. Our industrial towns will become ghost towns if Carney gets his way. La nouvelle taxe plus élevée de Mark Carney va aider les États-Unis à prendre tous nos emplois industriels du Canada. Nos villes industrielles deviendront des villes fantômes si Carney parvient à ses fins. Et oui, sa nouvelle taxe plus grande va s'appliquer au Québec au-delà des taxes déjà en place. The coming election will decide whether Canadians want Mr. Carney's sneaky, job-killing, inflationary carbon tax or whether they want to axe the tax for everyone, for real, forever, with the common sense conservative. Now, I know Mr. Carney is going to try to plagiarize my policies right before the election, policies he has long opposed. But don't believe a word. In just a few months ago, did you hear about this? Mr. Carney moved his company headquarters to New York, Donald Trump's hometown, shifting jobs and investment into the U.S., just like Trump wanted. He opposed pipelines in Canada while his company bought them in the Middle East. He supported Trudeau's carbon tax in Canada while he profited off of investing in coal in the United States of America. He put his profit before our people. Carney cashed in, Canadians lost out. If he wins, Canada loses. But Canadians will win, and we will do it with a new Bring It Home economic plan. We will bring home our jobs, investment, and companies and break our dependence on the United States. We will unleash a fierce free enterprise economy to bring home control of our economic future from outside forces. We will stand on our own 2 feet, be masters of our own destiny, and be in charge of our own future. Le Canada va être autonome, souverain, et va se tenir debout. On va récompenser le travail, libérer les entrepreneurs, récolter nos ressources, fabriquer nos propres produits, échanger entre nous, bâtir des maisons pour nos jeunes, renforcer nos frontières et notre armée, honorer notre histoire et hisser notre drapeau. Nous serons véritables maîtres chez nous. Axing the carbon tax is only the beginning. We will go ahead with the biggest and most patriotic tax cut in Canada's history, the Bring It Home tax cut. It will lower taxes on energy, work, home building, investment, and making stuff in Canada. We will axe the sales tax on new homes, saving you $50,000 and sparking 30,000 extra homes built every single year, which will mean more jobs for our carpenters, plumbers, electricians, and trades workers. On va éliminer la taxe de vente sur les maisons neuves. Ça va permettre de bâtir 30 000 maisons supplémentaires par an et créer plus d'emplois pour nos travailleurs en métier. Ça va vous économiser $50 000 pour un achat d'une maison. And to pay for it, we will cut bureaucracy, consultants, and corporate welfare. We will impose a law. The waste of our money will end when I'm Prime Minister, and we will impose the same law on government spending that you impose on your household spending. We will be required to find $1 of savings for every new dollar of spending that comes in. Pour financer ces coupures, on va mettre en place une loi qui oblige de trouver des économies pour chaque nouvelle dépense. On va réduire la bureaucratie, les consultants et la BS coopératif. And we're going to bring home our jobs. We will repeal the liberal anti-resource laws. The idea is to once again produce our resources and upgrade and add value to them here in Canada. The Liberals drove $500 billion of investment to the United States, mostly by blocking our resource sector. They did this with the No New Pipelines Law, C-69, that has blocked the Energy East pipeline, blocked the Northern Gateway pipeline, and countless other projects. In fact, much worse than that, this is the situation we're in. I want you to paint this picture here. Not only can we not sell our oil to the world, we can't even sell it to ourselves. Do you know that the oil that Quebec imports from Alberta has to go through the United States of America? And if we ever got into a real trade dust up with the Americans, they could even cut off the supply of our oil to ourselves.
There's facts, folks.
Because they blocked the East-West pipeline that would have bound our country together and allowed us to sell Western oil to Eastern markets. Mr. Trudeau, with his economic advisor, Mr. Carney, said also that there is no business case to sell gas to countries like Germany, Japan, Greece, and others that were begging for it. Now, the Americans and Qataris are beating us to the punch. So we sell our national natural gas internally for $4, while the world price, or the price in Europe, is $13. So let's give a little economic lesson to Mr. Carney and Mr. Trudeau. If you have something for $4 and you can sell it for $13, that's a profit. Now, if you can do that billions and billions of times, that's a business case, right?
There's the smarmy Pierre I miss. There's the jokes, the quips. Get a W in the chat for Pierre. That's a good one. I'll take it.
Question. I have a serious question for you. Think about this. Do you think that we could build the Canadian Pacific Railway today? Or would there be some squeaky, radical protester chaining himself to a tree like Minister Guilbeault? Again, the keep it in the ground crowd in the Liberal Party. We're doing these damaging policies. Imagine if they did this much damage before the tariffs, how dangerous they would be after tariffs. This tariff crisis has proven conservatives were right also about natural resources. And that's why we need a plan to bring home production to this country. And that's what we will have. My common sense plan to unleash the production of our resources will allow us to be self-sufficient. We will incentivize Indigenous leaders to support these projects by letting companies pay a share of their federal corporate taxes to local First Nations. Second, I'm announcing, and by the way, that will allow First Nations to spend that on
somebody think I'm being mean to Pierre?
Future for their people. I want the First Nations people of Canada to be the richest people in the world. I am announcing today that within 60 days of taking office, I will repeal the unconstitutional No New Pipelines Law, C-69. We will replace it with a new law that protects nature and gets projects approved within a year of an application. Third, I will rapidly approve LNG plants, pipelines, mines, and other key projects. Et ça inclut GNL Québec, un projet auquel le Bloc s'oppose et que le gouvernement libéral à Ottawa refuse. Je suis le seul chef et les conservateurs sont le seul parti qui a soutenu ce projet depuis le début. GNL Québec va permettre de briser notre dépendance sur les Américains et briser la dépendance des Européens sur la Russie.
Les libéraux et le Bloc veulent donner l'argent de GNL à la machine de guerre de Vladimir Poutine. Moi, je veux que ça va dans la poche de Jean-Marie Tremblay, le soudeur de Saguenay. Fourth, I will immediately greenlight federal permits for the Ring of Fire in Northern Ontario. We will harvest chromite, cobalt, nickel, copper, and platinum. And my friends, we need to go from an exclusively north-south economy to an east-west economy. So let me say clearly and unapologetically in French and in English, I support a national west to east pipeline from the prairies to St. John, New Brunswick. Je soutiens un pipeline national ouest-est des prairies jusqu'au Nouveau-Brunswick. We must have the courage and the backbone to stare down eco-fanatics who will stand in the way and favor foreign oil instead. I stand with the 74% of Quebecers who support building pipelines to transport oil and gas.
Look at this bounce back. Look at him just crushing this rally now.
L'acceptabilité sociale pour ce projet ou pour GNL Québec? Mais il y a 74% qui sont d'accord. Mais en plus, j'ai une autre question. Vous savez ce qui n'a pas d'acceptabilité sociale au Québec? Faire entrer 125 000 barils par jour de pétrole américain au Québec. Les Québécois n'ont jamais accepté de dépendre des Américains pour leurs énergies, mais c'est la réalité actuelle à cause des libéraux et le Bloc qui s'opposent aux pipelines canadiens. Moi, je serai là pour favoriser les pipelines, pour créer des emplois à travers le Canada et de nous rendre maîtres chez nous en termes d'énergie. En fait, je crois qu'une pipeline transnationale devrait être appelée le projet Maître chez nous, n'est-ce pas? We need new trade partners. And we sell 75% of our exports to the Americans. I got a new export partner in mind, a new country that we're going to use to become less dependent on the Americans alone. Great country, nice
Canada.
people. They speak French and English, cold climate. It's called Canada. Right now, we have tariff barriers between our provinces that are almost as big as the one that President Trump is threatening. That's why we sell twice as much to the Americans as we do to ourselves. This is madness, my friends. Within 30 days of becoming Prime Minister, I will bring together the premiers with the aim to remove the hundreds of pages of carve-outs and exemptions in the Canada Free Trade Agreement that slow or stop goods from moving from province to province. We will set up a blue seal test and trade that provinces test and licensing process so that provinces can accept and allow doctors and nurses from all across the country. And furthermore, we need to allow the 20,000 immigrant doctors and 32,000 immigrant nurses to quickly take a test and get to work, reducing wait times in our hospitals. And to get the deal done, this will boost our GDP. Billions of dollars of extra tax revenue will result not from higher rates, but from a bigger, freer economy. And I will use the extra federal revenue from free trade to pay a bonus to each province that voluntarily knocks down barriers and opens up its market to fellow Canadians. Pour conclure l'entente, je vais offrir aux provinces une prime de libre-échange. On va les encourager d'éliminer les barrières pour qu'on puisse avoir un vrai libre marché pan-canadien pour tous les Canadiens. Now, it's funny. Well, people can't currently bring alcohol across Canada.
They can easily traffic deadly doses of fentanyl, guns, and illegal migration into Canada. We must take back control of crime, drugs, and the border from the radical, borderless, woke ideology of the Carney-Trudeau Liberals. They allow 99% of shipping containers to enter uninspected. The government's own report says there are as many as 500,000 people here illegally, but they admit they're not quite sure because they've lost count. Or perhaps they just can't count. That might be the answer. My Canada First plan will deploy military helicopters and surveillance to the borders, add 2,000 new border agents, expand the powers to patrol the full border, install new high-powered scanners, towers, and drone systems, and track departures so that we actually know if the people deported have left the country. Actuellement, les gens ne peuvent pas passer l'alcool à travers le Canada, mais ils peuvent facile faire entrer des doses mortelles de fentanyl, des armes à feu et de migrants illégaux au Canada. On doit reprendre le contrôle de la criminalité, de la drogue et de la frontière, qui sont actuellement entre les mains qui sont devenus pires à cause des politiques radicales des libéraux. Ils laissent entrer 99% des conteneurs d'expédition sans inspecter et le rapport du gouvernement avoue qu'il pourrait y avoir jusqu'à 500 000 personnes ici illégalement, mais le gouvernement n'est pas sûr parce qu'ils ont perdu le compte. Incroyable. Mon plan, le Canada d'abord, va déployer les hélicoptères militaires, des systèmes de surveillance de la frontière, ajouter 2000 nouveaux agents frontaliers, élargir les pouvoirs de patrouiller toute la frontière, installer de nouveaux scanners haute puissance, des tours, des systèmes de drones. On va aussi suivre les départs pour savoir qui, parmi ceux qui sont expulsés, a vraiment quitté le pays. C'est ça le gros bon sens. The Liberals... And we, my friends, even worse than the gun crime that our open borders policy has brought us is the fentanyl deaths. Mr. Carney recently said that fentanyl is not a crisis, just a challenge. He should tell that to the families of the 50,000 Canadians who have lost their lives to these horrible poisonous drugs in the last 9 years. Do you know we've lost more people to fentanyl overdoses in this decade than we lost fighting in the Second World War? The Liberal laws C5 and C75 allow drug kingpins out on easy bail and house arrest. They've legalized fentanyl possession and given out tax-funded opioids that ultimately get resold to children. They ban you from using a plastic straw but allow you to use cocaine. So next time you're snorting up, just make sure you use a paper straw to save the world. This radical liberal drug liberalization has killed 200% more people a year. Recently, a lab in BC was shut down with enough fentanyl and ingredients to kill 95 million people. Selling large amounts of fentanyl is like firing bullets into a crowded room. You might not know who you're killing, but it is certain that someone will die. So we must treat mass fentanyl traffickers for what they are, mass murderers. And that is why my government will repeal Liberal laws C5 and C75 and bring in mandatory life sentences for trafficking and producing over 40 milligrams of fentanyl. $40 milligrams is enough to kill 20 people. We will lock up and throw away the murderers who are killing our families. More important than what I will do is why I will do it. You know, it shouldn't have taken President Trump to get the Liberals to wake up that there's a fentanyl crisis in this country. I'm not doing this for him. I'm not doing this for him. I'm doing this so that there's not one more Canadian parent that has to collapse on the ground on learning that their child has died in a back alley somewhere. reinvest in treatment and recovery to bring our loved ones home drug-free. And so my message to those who are struggling with addiction is this: hang on, have hope. Help is on the way. We will protect our people, our soils, our skies, and our seas. We will stand on guard for our people at home and around the world. Our military will protect our national interests by carrying our weight in North America to secure and leverage more trade with the U.S., all while becoming less reliant on them for our defense. After 9 years of liberal incompetence and disdain, our military is weakened and our allies no longer respect us. Job one for a new conservative government rebuilding our armed forces is to protect our true north. Hostile powers like China and Russia want our resources, our shipping routes, and to be within striking distance of our continent. We won't let them. We will defend our seas, skies, and soil. We will always be the true north, strong and free. Part one of our Canada First plan for our north will add 2,000 more Canadian Rangers, our eyes and ears in the north. They will deliver 4 heavy icebreakers for the Coast Guard and the Navy, and we will establish Canada's first permanent Arctic base since the Cold War, CFB Iqaluit. On va ajouter 2000 Rangers canadiens. On va livrer 4 brise-glaces lourdes à la marine et à la garde côtière canadienne.
You know, I'm seeing a 50-50 split in the chat, but one thing I'm going to say is that I think ever since Pierre started speaking from the heart, he's definitely come back. I said earlier that this was a 6 or a 7 for me. It's getting closer to a 9 at this point. He's saying what needs to be said and what Canadians expect.
F-35s and Poseidons, the aircraft that will detect, deter, and if necessary, destroy threats in the north. The base will also help NORAD protect our continent. We will cut red tape and speed up delivery on already planned missiles, refueling aircraft, upgrades to the forward operating locations in Inuvik, Yellowknife, Goose Bay, early warning aircraft, new submarines, tactical helicopters, and new satellite ground stations will protect our Arctic and all Canadians. And we will pay for it. We will pay for it by cutting foreign aid to dictators, terrorists, and global bureaucracies. Canada will honor its men and women in uniform. The patriotic men and women of this forces will have the tools they need to defend our country, and our military will be guided by a warrior culture and not a woke culture. My friends, we are a strong nation. No outside force can stop us unless we let them. But just as terrible economic policies has threatened our economic independence, so too have the radical post-national ideologies that say that Canada has no core identity threatened our national sovereignty. As the great Nova Scotian Joseph Howe said, "A wise nation preserves its records, gathers up its monuments, decorates the tombs of its illustrious dead, repairs the great public structures, and fosters national pride and love of country by perpetual references to the sacrifices and glories of the past." We will end cancel culture and stop the war on our history.
Yes.
Our national museums will celebrate the great achievements of Canada, telling the unvarnished truth that on balance, this is the greatest country on earth precisely because of the goodness of those who came before and sacrificed so that we could have what we call Canada today. We will celebrate. We will celebrate rather than tearing down our heroes in history. We will defeat this insidious and divisive cancel culture that sought to destroy our national pride and monuments. They've even tried to destroy the great founder of this country, John A. Macdonald. Well, I've got a message for them. If there were no John A. Macdonald, there would be no Canada. Under a conservative government, I promise you we will build new statues and name new public structures after the great founding Prime Minister of our country. His name will go on public structures and other places of national importance. I will also defend and preserve our proud military traditions. Our military traditions, that means that I will reinstate the great Royal Navy marching anthem, Heart of Oak, so that generations of sailors can carry on this beautiful tradition. We will promptly complete a long overdue monument to the brave Canadians who fought and died for us in Afghanistan. We will add new criminal code penalties for anyone caught tearing down or defacing our statues and monuments. And then there's our passport. We will restore Terry Fox, Vimy Ridge, we will restore Terry Fox, Vimy Ridge, the famous five, the Blue Nose, the Fathers of Confederation, Indigenous people, and our military heroes to our passport. Our heritage and citizenship departments will be using a policy of promoting our common national identity. That will be embedded in our immigration policies, in our heritage policies, and in everything we do. The goal is not to erase differences, but to bridge them. We will strengthen the bonds of common country between Canadians of different background, race, birth, region. It starts with the institutions that bring us together. I will massively expand the Cadet Corps and the Junior Rangers to bring our youth. We will bring our youth together for mentorship under great members of the Canadian Armed Forces. There will be more exchanges. For example, can you imagine if we had an exchange where a kid from Mississauga could go up and embed with the Rangers in Inuvik, learning thousands of years of Inuit knowledge and history, all while surveilling our northern coastline against risks? Wouldn't that be a way to bring our different peoples together? You know, I remember when I was a kid, I was like 20 years old, and I went on this exchange to Chicoutimi in Quebec. And here I was, an Alberta kid who had lost a lot of the French that my dad taught me. But as an Albertan in rural Quebec, I never felt more Canadian. Sitting around the table with the Dubé family and letting them tell me their stories and realizing how much we had in common. Learning in a classroom how to properly speak the language that I still haven't quite mastered. Et dans la nuit, dans les soirées, on est allé au pub pour célébrer avec les autres jeunes du Québec. Et je sais que les Québécois aiment dire « je me souviens », mais il y a certaines soirées que je me souviens pas. Donc, but let me say that I'm announcing today that we will double the number of placements for language immersion pour que les jeunes anglophones puissent apprendre la langue française. 10 000 jeunes vont pouvoir apprendre les langues
On va enlever les deux solitudes et être totalement unis entre les différentes régions. We're going to remove the two solitudes by bringing everyone in this country together. And there's no more important moment than when you become a citizen as an immigrant to this country. It's a precious inheritance. I've been to some of these beautiful citizenship ceremonies. They're very emotional. Most immigrants used to take the entire day off so they could celebrate and take pictures. Yet the Liberals, since COVID, have been phasing them out and instead replacing them with online ceremonies. They're even working on what they call click citizenship, where you become a citizen by clicking online. The citizenship oath is a special moment and should not be a simple administrative nuisance like renewing your driver's license. But my government will restore in-person citizenship ceremonies. And we will add the following words to the existing oath. I pledge gratitude to those who worked, sacrificed, and gave their lives to defend the freedom I now enjoy and to build the country I now call home. Like the people before me, I pledge to fulfill my duties as a Canadian citizen. We have seen the government divide people by race, religion, gender, vaccine status, and more. No wonder hate crimes are up 251% in 9 years. Places of worship are firebombed and shot at. And for the first time, the world's problems are spilling onto our streets. That must end. And when I am Prime Minister, it will end. Laws will be enforced. People who engage in this activity will be locked up and they will pay a serious price. Those who are visiting the country on a visa and are not citizens or permanent residents that engage in hateful violence will be deported from the country. And we will treat all our people, regardless of their race, as Canadian and Canadian first with no hyphens. We will leave the world's problems at the door. On va laisser les problèmes du monde à la porte. Ours is a nationalism not based on bloodlines, birthplace, or background. Whether your name is Martin or Mohammed, Poilievre or Patel, Tremblay. Hi there, Mr. Patel. Good to see you. It's like Smith. Or like Tremblay. Tremblay, ou Tang, Singh, Smith, or Steinberg. Whether you're from Tuktoyaktuk or Trois-Rivières, Okanagan or Oromocto, Calgary or Cavendish, we are all Canadians and Canadians first. Le Canada va être autonome, souverain et va se tenir debout. On va récompenser le travail, libérer les entrepreneurs, récolter nos ressources, fabriquer nos propres produits, échanger entre nous, bâtir des maisons pour nos jeunes, renforcer nos frontières et notre armée, honorer notre histoire et hisser notre drapeau. Ce qui nous unit, c'est la promesse canadienne que quiconque, d'où qu'il vienne, puisse accomplir des rêves, que travailler fort garantit une belle vie avec une belle maison dans un quartier sécuritaire, protégé par une frontière solide et des soldats courageux sous notre fier drapeau. Pour préserver ce drapeau et sa promesse, on doit travailler ensemble, lutter ensemble, gagner ensemble. C'est ça, mettre le Canada d'abord. We will be a self-reliant, sovereign country that stands on its 2 feet. We will reward work, unleash entrepreneurs, harvest our resources, make our own goods, trade with each other, build homes for our youth, rebuild our borders and military, honor our history, and raise our flag. What binds us together? What binds us together is the
Keep the positive coming, folks.
Anyone from anywhere can do anything. That hard work gets you a great life in a beautiful house on a safe street, wrapped in the protective arms of a solid border defended by brave soldiers under a proud flag. To preserve that flag and its promise, we must work together, fight together, and win together. That is what it means to put Canada first. But I warn you, it will not be easy. We may have very hard days ahead. But I have a question. Do you think making Canada was easy? No. Do you think it was easy for the Inuit to sleep in homes of snow, pull dinner out of the icy waters, and survive thousands of winters in minus 45? Pensez-vous que c'était facile pour les colons français de Tadoussac en l'an 1600? Après un hiver brutal, seulement 5 d'entre eux ont survécu. Pourtant, d'autres sont venus et ont établi une présence française qui prospère encore aujourd'hui au Québec. Do you think it was easy to drive the spikes into the Canadian Pacific Railway, into the frozen ground, through the rock, muskeg, and mountains? Chinese laborers, under brutal conditions, forge a ribbon of steel that unites east to west. Do you think it was easy? For the Canadian teenagers living in frozen, rat-infested trenches only to run out towards flying metal to attack and beat the Germans in World War I, as their sons and daughters would again do in World War II? Pensez-vous que c'était facile de se battre en Italie pendant la Seconde Guerre mondiale à travers ville en ville, d'Ortona, Monte Cassino et bien d'autres? Les Canadiens ont combattu une chaleur intense et une pluie glaciale, avançant malgré tout. Do you think it was easy for Terry Fox's cancer-ravaged body to run across our land, pounding his one and only leg again and again on lonely highways with chipped bones and blistered limbs to fight the disease that would later take his life? No, none of this was easy. Making Canada was hard. Those are the people who built and defended our country through sacrifice and struggle, but they did not go that far and travel that long so that we could take the easy way out and give up. Like them, we are part of something bigger than ourselves. We are in this together. We are at this place in this time because we have a job to do, to pass on intact what we inherited from those who came before us to those who come after us. Parce que le Canada vaut la peine qu'on se batte pour lui, pour notre peuple, pour notre terre, pour notre chez nous, pour le Canada, because our country is worth fighting for our people, for our land, for our home, for Canada first, always and forever. Let's bring it home. Thank
you. Look at that. What a unbelievable show of patriotism coming from Pierre Poilievre. Again, Trudeau's economy said it. It's starting to come out. His passion for this country is coming out. It's one of the great things we've seen in this rally today, and it's something that, again, I want to highlight that this is going to be hopefully the next Prime Minister of Canada. We have to keep the positive going as we move forward. What Pierre talked about today, and again, I'll take some moments here to kind of summarize where I felt things were great, where things fell apart. Again, attacking Donald Trump, I think that Pierre is trying to make a 50-50 battle here. Essentially, he's talking about we need to push back against tariffs if the tariffs come our ways, but we also need to unlock our potential. One of the things he should be focusing on, as I said earlier, is saying, look, if I go to the table to negotiate and we have a decent plan against Donald Trump and he still wants to push back and fight us, then we will go dollar for dollar. But what he should be pushing for is for fair negotiation, fair trade. that we're both aligned with the same purpose to be prosperous, that we're willing to help one another out. I totally agree 110% that Donald Trump, um, Donald Trump essentially wants the best deal. Donald Trump wants to negotiate with Canadians. He said that he wants to negotiate with Pierre. He has no problem with Pierre. He doesn't want to negotiate with the Liberals. I think if we can come to the table and if we can find strong negotiation tactics, we're going to be in better shape. I think that instead of pushing each other, we should be propping each other up. I've said many times the booing at the national anthems has to stop. The tags in stores saying this is Canadian, this is American, the whole rhetoric that the Trudeau government is pushing right now has to stop. Anybody waving their flag in Canada that's proud to wave their flag in Canada, by all means, should be patriotic. They should definitely get out there and do that and express how much they love their country. But we should also remember that we shouldn't love it at times when the Prime Minister is using our flag as a symbol for divisiveness. I have a huge problem when it comes to this Flag Day being used to prop up Justin Trudeau's push to segregate us from America. Pierre had some great talking points. Again, I loved when he came back, when he started speaking as though his team wasn't feeding him a script, when he started with the quips, when he showed his humanity. You know, I've said before that when Preston Manning reached out to me after How the Prime Minister Stole Freedom went viral, saying, I'd like you to work with Pierre. I'd like you to write some scripts and maybe do some videos with Pierre. I would like Canadians to see his funnier side. I would like them to see his humanity. I think, and I've been fighting with his people for years now, stating that Preston Manning isn't wrong, that he has a very valid point. And it's not so that I can work with Pierre. It's that I do believe that the slogans only go so far. The rhetoric only goes so far. We need to start seeing this man's humanity face to face and seeing what kind of person he is as he was speaking at the end of that rally about his passion for this country. If people see the humanistic side of Pierre Poilievre, I guarantee you that a lot of people's concerns, a lot of people's reservations about this man would shift. I've spoken with him privately. I have met with him and his family privately. And I can tell you right now, I believe that Pierre Poilievre is the best answer of what we have available moving forward to take over as Prime Minister of Canada. I believe that his platform is what's going to help Canadians get back on track and to a state where they can actually afford to tuck some money away once in a while instead of scrounging around to figure out how they're going to pay the government to uplift their global slush fund. I think that what Pierre did in this rally was beneficial. It was far different from most of his other rallies. Again, the slogans weren't as present. I liked seeing what we saw from about the midway point to the end. I thought that he did a very good job of how he enunciated himself, how he spoke about policy. Again, I think that we do need to unlock the potential of our country by interprovincial trade. We need to start telling Quebec that, at least at the very minimum, and I'm not saying the people, again, he said it in the presser that roughly 70% of Quebecers support pipelines. Those people I have no qualms with. The 30-some% that stand against the pipelines should be told, if you don't want to get on board, if you don't want prosperity for this country, if you don't want to get around the ridiculousness of sending our oil to the United States and then back up to Quebec at a higher price where it makes more sense for Canada to evolve its oil and gas business, then we simply stop the transfer payments. You don't have to agree with us, but you're not going to benefit anymore if you don't want to get on board. As far as people and the negativity that's struck in the chat throughout the live stream, it's always funny to see the bots come in here thinking that people are going to buy into the rhetoric. For those who are coming in here saying, I'm not a bot, I have negative views of Pierre, again, I challenge you all to say, I can appreciate your view on politics, but please propose to me a better option than what we're faced with right now. Because when we go to the polls to vote for the next Prime Minister, the only options are going to be Pierre Poilievre, possibly Jagmeet Singh, or Mark Carney. So somebody please tell me what the better option is going to be to get Canada out of this mess. For others that said Pierre is pro-East and he's pro-Quebec, I find that very hilarious, given he's an Alberta-raised boy. He's here all the time. He's always coming back home to see his folks. His folks are very prominent in politics. They work with within Calgary's municipal districts. I mean, to say that he's pro-East, like, give me a break, guys. Come on. That's just grasping at straws. He's saying what needs to be said finally. I'm hoping this rally is exactly what I've been saying for a while now, that Pierre starts to speak a little more freely, that he realizes what's on the line here and starts to push back and say what Canadians expect him to say, not what his campaign leaders prefer he would say. I'd like to see Pierre uncut, unleashed. I want to see Pierre push for a better Canada the way he thinks it needs to be deserved, because honestly, again, from talking with him personally, I firmly believe he has his best interests sewn into Canada. He wants to make Canada a better country. Time will tell on that one. Again, I've said, should he drop the ball on that? Of course, I'll call him out on this channel. We'll always call out anytime the government needs to be questioned. If we put our faith in politicians, that just makes us naive, and it makes us susceptible to what we've endured over the last 10 years by sticking our heads in the sand saying there's no point in discussing it. We'll just hope for better days to show up. It's never going to get there. Unless, of course, we start using our brains, unless we start using common sense when it comes to voting in the next federal election. I'm really hoping to see that today's rally has worked positively for Pierre moving forward. I'm interested to see what this does for his numbers on realistic polling sites like Canada 338. I'm not talking about Ecos or any of those guys. Matt and Andrea, thank you for the 139 super sticker. I appreciate that. Again, it's going to be interesting to see what unfolds in the coming weeks, especially when we get into March, when we talk about this leadership race, this robust process that's just going to install Mark Carney. Where we go from there, if we see a delay into the election, if we see more corrupt liberal antics, your guess is as good as mine. Again, I'll be reporting those on the channel as time moves forward. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank everybody who came into this 2-hour live stream, who enjoyed the coverage. I know I said I originally wasn't going to film this, but you know what? Anytime we're reporting on this channel, it seems to be doom and gloom lately when we're talking about tariffs, we're talking about corruption, we're talking about scandals. Sometimes it's good to have a little bit of positivity. I think we saw it today with Pierre's press conference. So thank you to everybody who came out today, who enjoyed the stream. I'll definitely do more coverage of this in the future, or events like this in the future. Leave a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, ladies and gentlemen. Have yourselves a great rest of your weekend. Stay warm. It's very cold outside across the country. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Look after yourselves. Keep your stick on the ice. Thank you for joining me once again. And with that, ladies and gentlemen,